Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Welcome back to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. I'm Cynthia Davis.
And I'm Art DeVitalis. Now for this week's news.
This episode is brought to you by Very Nice Brewing Company, the Mountain Man Outdoor Store, Hardt's Backhoe, Brightwood Music, and of course, the Mountaineer Newspaper.
For our lead story today, we'll talk to Ryan Blackwell of Boogie Records and the store's second anniversary. And, of course, how it's come along since the beginning of COVID-19 and everything that's offered wall-to-wall in this shop.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blackwell, and I own Boogie Records in Netherlands. Well, I've been here almost 2 years, and I'll be celebrating my 2-year anniversary on April 4th. And I just finished up doing a big remodel of the store. I took out a couple walls, redid a bunch of wiring, built a bunch of shelves. So the space has completely been transformed. And yeah, gearing up for my second anniversary, and just want to invite people to come down and check it out if they haven't been in before. My store looks out onto the community garden. There's a big grassy area with some picnic benches. And the owners of the building, we've been talking about building a stage and having concerts out in this little grassy area starting this summer. But there's not going to be any sort of live music for my anniversary party. But hopefully come summertime, we're going to start having, I'm envisioning Friday night little concerts out here starting summertime, depending on, COVID restrictions. Well, like I said, I opened up 2 years ago when this retail space became available. And I had one of those light bulb moments. I had been dreaming of running my own business for years, and I had moved up to Netherlands from Boulder about a year previous. And I had been, had a million different ideas of things I wanted to do, and nothing quite felt right. And I had that light bulb moment where I realized Netherlands didn't have a music store, a record store, and the space became available. I had been collecting vinyl records for about 5 years, and I had about 1,000 records at home, and boom, like I said, I had that light bulb moment. The space here is absolutely perfect for it.
So there's a bit of everything from audio equipment to collectible vinyl and CDs.
So when I opened up 2 years ago, I had about 1,000 records, and now I have over 10,000 vinyl records, CDs, cassette tapes. I sell turntables and stereo equipment and speakers, and I am wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling records and CDs, and I'm really proud of what I've built over the last 2 years here.
So what's the higher end of the vinyl collection look like?
I'm a metalhead. I love heavy metal, punk rock, hard rock, and my store is somewhat hard rock centric. You can tell by the art on my walls, it's heavy metal, hard rock, and punk. But I carry everything. I have a good selection of all genres, and up here, Grateful Dead, Fish, Widespread Panic, those bands, especially Grateful Dead and Jerry Garcia. As soon as I get any Grateful Dead on vinyl, it's gone that day. That is by far my most popular. But yeah, as far as my favorite, heavy metal, punk, especially 80s, 90s era heavy metal and punk rock is my favorite personally. I carry as many local artists as I can. I have probably half a dozen local artists, some on vinyl, some on CD, and I encourage all local artists, if any local artists have music out on CD or vinyl, I will gladly carry it for anyone without any, upcharge or surcharge. I'm all for supporting local music, and I also love putting up, flyers when live music was a thing. Local bands would sometimes come in and ask me to, hang up flyers on my window to promote their shows, and that's all part of being a record store, supporting local music. And like I said, I would love to encourage more local artists to bring me their music, and I'll happily sell it here for them.
Of course, we had to ask who his all-time favorite artist is.
On you. Out of curiosity.
Oh boy, Jimi Hendrix. Oh, it all starts with Jimi Hendrix. Black Sabbath is another big influence on me, but I have Jimi Hendrix framed front center in my store, and I personally have a pretty extensive Jimi Hendrix vinyl collection at home. Yeah, he is, like I said, it all starts with Hendrix. I'll maybe leave it at that. Another thing that might be worth mentioning is I did recently launch my website so I can do online sales, and my website is boogierecordsnederland.com. I'm putting the last finishing touches on reorganizing everything, putting everything back together. I'm at best a campfire guitarist. I can play a few open chords and, but I do not consider myself a musician, but I can strum a guitar. That's about it.
Thanks, Ryan, and we look forward to what the next 2 years will bring. Check out more of what Boogie Records has to offer online and plans to celebrate with the second anniversary outdoors later this year.
Come springtime, once COVID restrictions are lifted, I plan on extending my hours. I'm currently only open Thursday through Sunday, but I'm probably going to go to 5 or maybe even 6 days a week this summer. I can special order almost anything for anyone. So I like to think not only do I feel that my inventory will compare to any record store around. My store is small, but I have some incredible records in here, and I just want people to know that I can special order pretty much anything at any time. So that's another service that I like to provide. Email or call me anytime. Yeah, I figure if I can make it survive 2 years through a pandemic, I can survive anything. So yeah, business has been good even throughout this pandemic. So I'm feeling really optimistic about the future. Now more than ever, people need music.
To the news desk.
After serving at Nederland Community Presbyterian Church for 7.5 years, Pastor Hanson Wendlandt announced his departure in February. During the past year of the pandemic, NCPC has been conducting online services.
Nederland Community Presbyterian Church invites its membership and members of the community to say goodbye and thank you to Pastor Hanson Wendlandt on Tuesday, April 6, 2021, from 5 to 7 p.m.
Due to COVID-19 restrictions, it will be an in-vehicle event. Pastor Hanson will greet the passengers in each vehicle and then move on to the next. NCPC is located at 210 North Jefferson Street in Nederland. Brightwood Music in Nederland has all your favorite stringed and fretted instruments, including percussion, brass, woodwinds, and more accessories than you can count. When you buy an instrument from Brightwood, it comes professionally set up by a luthier with over 40 years of experience. They also offer in-house repairs on stringed and fretted instruments.
From restring to refret to rebuild, they've got you covered. And in-person and online lessons as well. Brightwood Music is family-owned and operated.
Gilpin County has COVID-19 testing at the Gilpin County Public Health Office located at 101 Norton Drive every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can sign up at www.primarybio.com/L/CDPHE. Please pre-register prior to arrival.
Free COVID tests are available at the Nederland Community Center every Thursday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. No appointment or ID is required.
The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment also has a list of vaccination sites in the state. You can register with any of those sites as well. Check out more information at covid19.colorado.gov/4-coloradians/where-can-I-get-vaccinated.
And now we'll head to Dango Rose for an interview with Brian Rochelow, better known as Rosh.
Hello, this is Dango Rose with the Mountaineer Everybody's Listening podcast. Today, my guest is Brian Rochelow, otherwise known as Rosh, who is the founder, curator, and live performing artist for the Blind Cafe out of Boulder, Colorado. Rosh, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. You know, we've had the shootings in Boulder this last week and the pandemic, and it's been a long few years of, witnessing my friends and myself go through challenges and really recognizing where those places of connection are with ourselves and each other in community, and then reinforcing those things, because the imprint or the impact of all the negative stuff that's happening in the world is so intense. And it's like affirmations or repetition is the mother of skill. Start thinking not so good all the time. And so I recognize that I spend a lot of time on my iPhone listening to podcasts or learning something or YouTube. And I recognize I got to schedule more time with my friends. And it's mostly up to me to make that change rather than feel sad or disconnected.
Something about connection, which is sort of the key value or key element in what you do with regard to having created the Blind Cafe so many years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about the Blind Cafe, what it is that you've created here in Boulder County?
In its essence, ever since I was a little kid, I just love initiating situations or putting the context together for people to connect with each other. So I do, camping trips up in Vermont or with my friends, and I got everybody to go there. They all come. And then when it comes to actually hanging out and being there, I usually like to go to the edge and just watch everybody connect, And I often have time actually going in there and being in the circle and relaxing and just connecting in the moment. So that's a piece that I've always kind of struggled with, is connection. It's one of my highest values. I've had ADD and things like that. I've been a creative person, so my whole life I couldn't really participate or do really well in school or study groups or kind of fit in and stay in connection in a lot of situations. So I've kind of had to find my own ways of navigating that. And so it's been a void for me. Since it's one of my highest values and it's a void, that actually becomes my deepest gift, is to help create connection in my life and with others.
Interestingly enough, you do it in 100% complete total darkness.
Yeah, and that was an awesome accident. I was on tour in Iceland, in Reykjavik, and I was doing all these house concerts and staying at people's homes and just playing my guitar and singing my songs for them. And I went into this temporary cafe in the dark they had in Reykjavik, Iceland, back in 2006, I think it was. I got to hang out in the dark with all these people. The waiters were blind. You couldn't see anything in there. It was 100% darkness. There wasn't any live music or community discussion. But I just found it really profound that I was relating with these people without having any visual cues or knowing exactly what they look like, whether they're tall, black, white, short, in a wheelchair, or even blind. And I thought, wow, this is a really unique moment. I wonder what would it be like for me as an artist? Would I be able to share my music at a level of vulnerability that I wouldn't otherwise in a lighted setting? And would the audience be able to actually feel more connected to the music? And I was on an exploratory process of trying to figure out, how I was going to share my music back then. And that's back when you were doing Elephant Revival and touring all the bars and cafes and venues. My music didn't really fit that realm, so I kind of went out, created these house concerts all over Europe. But then that Blind Cafe idea, I was incubating for a couple of years. In 2000, it was 2009, I was in a class at Europa University, and there was a blind woman in my class, and I kind of pitched the idea to her. I was like, what do you think about this? I want to do a music in the dark concert experience, but I think I want to include, the blind community to some extent, because there was blind staff members that the event in Iceland. She introduced me to another artist, somebody who wanted to do spoken word poetry in the dark, and he was blind. And so we put this Music in the Dark dinner community discussion together back in February 4th and 5th, 2010. The very first Blind Cafe was just a one-off. I was just going to do this, and that's it. And it started selling out with a huge wait list. And 10 years later, over 50,000 people in the dark. We've traveled all over the country the last 10 years.
It really is a specialized container of darkness, 100% darkness. You guys do a lot of prep work to get it to that level, so there's no lights coming through. You're bringing in people, sitting at them tables, having dinner with people that they don't know. The food is catered from a local chef or sometimes a gourmet chef in the area. There's a performance at each show. There's a blind wait staff. So the blind wait staff is then leading everybody in, and there's a question and answer session. So it really becomes a fully tactile, on every sensory level experience. You've also started doing special sort of programs in the dark, like dismantling racism. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Let me just give a premise kind of in response to how you kind of shared about the Blind Cafe. Ultimately, I'm a songwriter and artist, Rosh, in the Blind Cafe Orchestra. And that first Blind Cafe experience was our way of kind of bringing music and art and community to the world. You know, there's something about being in 100% darkness where you have to completely let go of control, breaking bread with other people in the dark. And you can't even get up in the dark and find your way to the bathroom. You need one of our friends that are blind to help assist you. And it really pushes people into the present moment in a really positive, cool way. That's what we're doing, is we're trying to create connection. We're also trying to push people to grow a little bit, expand their awareness of themselves and how they relate to other people. And being in a pitch dark room like that is how we do that. We create a positive, cool, but a little challenging experience in the dark. Just that sweet spot. And that's what seems to be really lighting people up. It started off as a concert, then we added the dinner, and then we added community discussion, like a social impact discussion, which, you know, is initially and mostly about blindness. We've expanded that because in the dark, people start sharing about what it's like to relate with others in the dark without others seeing them as Black or overweight or what age they are or whatnot. And I have a friend who does this dismantling racism discussions. He does it in light, Pedro Silva. And we partnered, and we went ahead and we piloted a program here in Boulder at E-Town, dismantling racism discussions in the dark. I can give you the 4-minute walkthrough version of the experience. So essentially, we'll come into a city and we'll rent out a space for 4 or 5 days. We'll make it 100% pitch darkness. Like, we have a team that comes in. They're masters of darkness, and they make it 100% dark. And then we do typically 3 nights and 6 shows, 2 shows in the evening, each one like 3 hours round trip. And the guests arrive in a low lighted lobby area. We make sure that they turn their phones off 100%, and people go to the bathroom and everything. And then they all gather outside the room where we're going to go in the dark to get ready to go in the dark. So basically we have like 70 or 80 people all waiting to go into this pitch dark room. Everybody's kind of excited and nervous. Ring a Tibetan singing bell, bring everybody's attention together, go through safety, prepare them what to do if you start to feel a little overwhelmed in the dark, how to be buddies with the people that you're going in the dark with so you can take care of each other and what to expect. Our friends and colleagues who are also artists, songwriters, musicians that perform in the dark, who are blind, will lead them in groups of 6 to 8 people through a darkness tunnel from the lighted room into 100% darkness. And they're brought to their table, and the food's on the table like Thanksgiving dinner. So like, you're sat down with your friend and like 6 other people you just barely saw, if at all, before you go in the dark. And you guys have to communicate and share food and connect in community and socialize. That's really potent. And then this next part of the darkness experience is we'll ring a Tibetan singing bell and have a conversation with our friends around blindness and around what it means to relate beyond our visual conditioning. That's really beautiful. People really open up and share and say things or ask questions in the dark they'd never do in a lighted setting. And then the final component is Music in the Dark concert. And that's where myself and my band, the Blind Cafe Orchestra, plus several other Blind Cafe performing artists such as yourself, Dango Rose, and Richie, we'll give it like a killer music in the dark concert. It's a listening experience where everybody drops in and lets go of their words and just allows themselves to feel music on a level they most likely never have before in the light. And at the end, we have everybody standing up and singing their hearts out to this chorus, to a song called The Light. It's the chorus that everybody's singing. It's like the pinnacle, like the final moment of the, several hours in the dark. The light that shines through everyone. Someday it will be gone. So make me yours, and I'll make you mine.
Well, Rosh, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Rosh in the Blind Cafe. This is Dango Rose with the Mountaineer Podcast. Everybody's listening. And we'll see you real soon. Everybody stay light, stay connected, stay together.
Thanks, Dango and Rosh, for telling us about this experience like no other and breaking down barriers in the process.
The Mountaineer newspaper has advertising packages that include print, social media, online, and podcast. Email publisher1977@gmail.com for info on a marketing plan for all your business needs.
The Mountaineer has the only weekly classified ads that cover the entire peak-to-peak region. There are several job postings with local businesses looking to hire local staff, as well as homes and apartments for rent, services, a business directory, and much more. Check it out at www.themtnear.com and click on Classifieds.
For our final story today, we talked to Gilpin County Emergency Manager Nathan Whittington about the last year and what's changed with the Emergency Operations Center.
Yeah, my name is Nathan Whittington. I am the Gilpin County Emergency Manager. Actually, we are 361 days, so we have surpassed the 1 year mark for the EOC operation. The whole nation has seen COVID-19 has caused, complete upsets in economies and people's lives, and the support that was needed around it has been instrumental. The Gilpin County Emergency Operations Center was activated to support COVID-19 on March 13th of 2020, and since then we have been supporting, all the response communities within Gilpin County, along with the county buildings, county employees, and the community as a whole, to ensure that we are meeting every aspect we can in the COVID compliance to keep our county as high level in the color scale as we can. And currently Gilpin County is blue, with the opportunity trying to move into green here within the next couple days, or actually hopefully within the next couple days. The interesting part about the Gilpin County Emergency Operations Center is the first time it's really been activated in the history of the county. So it's kind of a unique opportunity for the county to activate the EOC to its full potential for the largest pandemic the nation and the world has seen. So quite a few markers and milestones that have happened throughout this whole event.
So how did all this happen, and how does it continue today?
Throughout the year, we've been able to accomplish the development and the sustainment of what we call our MAC group, which is our multi-agency coordination group. And that group consists of members of the community, members of the casinos, the fire departments, the Gilpin Ambulance Authority, a wide variety of people, including the Golden Gate State Park, county commissioners, elected officials. But what that allows us to do is to have conversations and make decisions in aspects of a disaster response that is good for all the agencies, so that everybody's brought to the table. We can coordinate all the resources we have, we can coordinate all the people we have, and we can make a streamlined and efficient approach to going after the topic at hand. The other thing that we've been able to do is identify the structure of the Emergency Operations Center as, using an emergency support function basis. So each chair in the room identifies a specific skill set. So there's a chair in the room for public works. There's a chair in the room for the Gilpin County Animal Response Team. There's a chair in the room for, public health, for mass care, for fire, for law, for EMS. So when we're in the middle of trying to coordinate getting resources to the disaster or to the incident, we have all the key players in the room that know their subject matter expertise level that can say, I got that, I can take that, and I can go from there and I can run with it. So it allows us to coordinate all of Gilpin County as a whole instead of trying to make 100 different phone calls in a day, we have everybody in the room that knows what they have and what they can bring to the table.
But what about community involvement?
It is my goal through the Emergency Management Office to build and to develop a community emergency response team, a CERT team for Gilpin County. The two previous positions I held, the volunteers, Gilpin is amazing when it comes to the amount of people that are willing to volunteer. So last year, on top of COVID, we also had a huge sheltering operation where the three counties that surrounded us, the Left Hand Fire, the Cameron Peak Fire, all of those major fires were forcing their residents into Gilpin County to seek shelter. We were able to stand up Red Cross shelters at the Isle Casino and at the Ameristar, and the Gilpin County volunteers came out of the woodwork to staff those locations. We were also sheltering almost 200 animals for about a month at the Gilpin County barn, being supported and ran by the Gilpin County Animal Response Team, which is also a volunteer basis. So long-term future goal of emergency management is to capitalize on that and develop a CERT team here within the county that can support all functions of the EOC, emergency management, the animal response, the mass sheltering needs, even as far as getting people trained to work in the JIC, which is a Joint Information Center, so that when people have questions, they can call in, talk to a real person, and get the information from the current disaster, get the most up-to-date information, and be able to sustain that operation as well.
And Nate did have a timely mention about fire season coming up here soon, as well as where to contact the OEM on Facebook.
The Gilpin County Sheriff's Office webpage has a link underneath divisions to emergency management. All of my contact information is in there. Anybody can give me a call at any time. And if I'm not in my office, I'm probably running crazy somewhere. Leave me a message and I'll get back to you. But, FEMA, has a great webpage for disaster preparedness. The Colorado Division of Homeland Security Emergency Management, they also have great resources there, great tools there. You mentioned getting into fire season, and the one thing I do want to put out there is I want people to start getting familiar with their evacuation routes. You need to know which way to go if you have to evacuate. That is critical from our level here in the Emergency Operations Center to be able to anticipate which way people are going to go by their designated evacuation route so that we can get fire resources, medical resources, whatever resources we need to get in there, we can go the opposite way if we can without impacting people trying to get out. So know your evacuation routes and know where to go. COVID's kind of put us in a weird spot where we can't have, the neighborhood barbecues or the association barbecues where I'd be able to go talk to people. So this is great. Thank you for the opportunity. On Facebook, Gilpin Emergency Management, Gilpin County Emergency Management.
Thanks, Nathan. And look out for more important information here and in the Mountaineer newspaper regarding emergency management.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Mountaineer Podcast.
Pick up this week's edition of the Mountaineer in print.
And go online to www.themtnear.com to catch up on more local news. I'm Art DeVitalis.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. Until next time, thank you for listening.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local peak-to-peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.